now that we finally have these more advanced parts, we can actually fix this broken mechanism. Hold on. Does that music sound too loud? Gear. That's much better. Now, how about this? This mess. Actually, I don't want to remove that. And imagine all the redundant parts we can get rid of now. And we can even use this part here that wasn't used before. I'm actually going to erase all of this so that it's not distracting. Counting 3, 6, 12, yes, and I'm doing this for speed, not block score, so this should be fine. And actually now we can have these above. And these should not be part of this layer. They should be one layer down from here. Here. There, and so now they won't interfere with each other. Now let's see how this works. Potentially viable. There. Yeah, this should work. And now that fixed part of our cycle score problem immediately. In fact, if I move this to here instead, then it could potentially trade throughput in total for latency, which might be more of a problem. No, that makes it worse. There. What else can be done with this? The answer is not very much. And so that's improved now. Not very much though. Which one is this again? Oh yes, you. For this one, we're going to need much more advanced methods. I think I know what to do actually. Hold on. I'm going to do the same thing as before. This may be a common solution now. And with this, being careful not to leave the playable area also. What about this? Oh, that does work. In that case... the new plan... Not like that. Now that is perplexing. I'm noticing there's no room for welders on this first layer, but on the second layer there is. Like that. The only problem now is how do you even get those back out? Yeah, the answer is you don't. So this may actually be too far down. I know of one way of fixing this, however. It shouldn't be too difficult. Actually, we can dispense of these. And to make room for that. That also seems too low. Slightly slower, just from now. Oh yes, yeah, that makes it so that there's no room here. So this is a density problem. The tiling is going to be difficult for this, I can already tell. I think I have a new idea. What if this time there are many layers? Even more than last time, I mean. And they're combed like this. And then each layer can have its own set of these. And the time is correct also for this. Now there just needs to be a way of ejecting them. Actually, it should be simple if we do something more like this. Automatic ejection, and then we need to move these ahead in order to have them be placed correctly. And this is incorrect. Oh, I know. There, and now the staggering will help with the tiling. And that's this part done. And then now at this point it's just flow control. There. Complete. Oh, look at this. Look at that. Almost perfect. Now, of course, the footprint and block scores are now horrible. Yeah. Somewhat difficult to get a look at the entire mechanism. Yeah, seeing that one more time. It's actually going so fast that it would clog. And I think part of the problem is these. There's not actually enough room for them to go through that one small area. This should be better. Oh yeah, that actually does improve it by 1 cycle. This is unreasonably good now, especially for this early of a level. And I'm not going to worry about the earlier levels for right now, though. There's still actually a lot more to unlock for right now. Oh yes, this one. Maximizing the input first, because that's what I prefer to do. There. I'm going to do cycles first. Actually, would it be better to do footprint first? This would be dual footprint and block score, I feel. The problem is when they move that direction in this rotation, it takes up a 3 wide space, and that direction is a 1 wide, and so in order to minimize the amount of space their travel takes up, it would be best to rotate them like this, and then send them in, and then unrotate them when they get there. That's a problem. There. That's still a problem. What about now? No. They just come in too fast. This part is necessary. There, that's 1 speed lower. And now that we have them coming in this way, I'm going to need to split the stream so that we can get the staggering correct. Very difficult to explain exactly what I'm thinking at this time. This is going to be footprint, not block score. And now we're going to bring another one of these under, being very careful to shadow the previous path. And because of how this mechanism works, we can just build a platform like this here, and it should be fine. Oh, of course, this is too close. There. A simple problem solving. Oh, there's a part I forgot. There. And that looks either correct or close to correct. Want to see if this works though. Yes. That would be preferable. where it gets complicated. What if actually this is dumb? What I didn't realize is this, we can just tile two of these separate parts together, and then we only need to do the staggering once. There, that simplifies it to this, which I would prefer to move closer to the end to backload all of the processing. To here, which means we also need to move this part to in, like this, and then route this here. But that also means this is going to be misaligned by a single tile or block. That's close enough. There. Actually, it would take less room, I think, if I did it like this. And now, yeah, this is correct. And because of how this works, I can put this here, and that will work fine. However, this needs to be rotated so that it goes in correctly. Because notice how it was mirrored. I know how to resolve this problem, but it's not going to be very easy. This should move to here. And these can get out of the way. And then all of this needs to move down. Separate from the rest of it, of course. And by all of this I mean all of this. And so I'm just going to quickly yeah. There, and now this should work. Actually, this is in the incorrect place. And actually, I would like to compress all of this down. Perhaps I'm overthinking it. There. And this, it should go like this now. And this, and that, and these. There. Trying to remember. Yes, I'm pretty sure this is correct. There. that's in the correct orientation now, which means that I can do this. And this. And all of this. Not that though. This instead. Done. And now this should be good for footprint. Oh, this needs to be moved back by 3. And I need to place another grab point here. There. And that fixes that problem. Or does it actually? There. Right now, this. There. There. Finally. And I can get rid of this because it's taking up room that I can't afford to waste. This is definitely not the best it could be, but it's close enough. And next I need to work on making it faster. But look at that footprint score. And the block score isn't horrible either. I think I can just increase the input speed, and that should help. Now it doesn't actually seem to be causing clogs like before. Yes, the material is being used as fast as it's coming in. And now the cycle score is marginally better. I'm going to keep this solution and make another one. And this one is going to be maximum speed. Yes. This is going to be the greatest horrible thing to ever happen. Yes. Has science gone too far? Evidence says yes. And now at this point we can sortate all of this into where everything needs to be. Starting from here. Every other one is going to need to be rotated twice before it's usable. Is this too compact? Yeah, I think so. Now I need to think about partitioning. Yeah, that's not going to work. There. positioning of this isn't great either. I should fix that first. So the primary problem now is separating the streams, which I've actually just found a way to do. This is collision. Now, with these, every other one, making sure they don't interfere, is going to be difficult. And now I need to find a way to rotate these without colliding them into each other. This is, this problem is unraveling into a bigger and worse problem the more I work on it, so I'm going to leave it behind for right now, because I don't want it to become an inescapable vortex. I'm going to move on to something that's easier to do for right now. Oh, this one. Because there is an odd number of these boxes in this configuration, I cannot do most of the techniques of modularization that I usually use. Odd numbers. So now, one thing I could do is just make a stamp. Stamp that shape out of these blocks, and then feed it through. Not forgetting the 2 rotations necessary here. And it will branch at this point in this direction. And then at this point, you can just have the machine send everything where it needs to be. Like this. Actually, the welding of these 2 stems here needs to happen after this is welded together. And so thinking about it from that angle, what would be better is if I just did this and then attached these 2 after. And then that would require welders in these locations, but not attached to the upper ones, obviously, and not one here because that would interfere, and not one in either of these places either. In that case, they should be routed to another location where they can be sorted correctly and aligned correctly. This location looks fine. And I can just place the stamp here. And now I need to see which part comes in last. it's this one. And so I can have that be the one that pulls it out. And then I can just send it. And at this point I need to set in the welders there. And this should be fine. Actually, what's happening here? Oh, that's welding at the wrong time. Because this one is arriving too far ahead of schedule. In that case, I'm going to need to delay it slightly. There. Now that's working. Can now rotate. And then from this point we can send it through to the end. Needing to do all of this calculation mentally. Hold on. Actually, no, like this. What was I even thinking? You can tell I haven't done a rotation in a while. Oh wait, I don't even need two of them. There. I'm going to forego the optimization for some of these now, even though this is pretty good score on all of these. Now this machine could definitely be improved. And oh, this one. And so with this one, well, first there's a reference to an earlier Zachtronics game in this room, and secondarily, one trick I use for this level is how you see these two parts, the blocks, the factors of them, the prime factors. This is mathematical, by the way. For the lower ones is 3 and 2, and for the upper one is 2 and 2, and so you can make, since they have a common factor which is 2, you can actually simplify the ratio to 2 to 3, which is exactly how I'm going to stamp these out. 2 of one and 3 of the other, and I can just repeat that and it will be correct. In total, that would be 5. There. And not forgetting the wiring this time. Hold on. There. Actually, this would be better, less convoluted. Now you should be able to see. Yes. Now you just need to do both of them twice and you have the correct number, and that's how you do modularization. And the way I'm going to do this part is with a very normal partitioning method I use of the assembling of these parts. There. Oh, and not forgetting the actual, yes, the actual welding. And since they're coming in linearly, you only need these two connected to each other, and it handles itself. Actually, this I can take advantage of to rotate this immediately, twice in fact, and then send it down. There, and so we have those two parts correct. Actually, they're not pointed the right way. So, one way I can easily fix that is by altering the configuration of this very slightly. And having it rotate the other way. Actually, yes, this is correct. I just needed to double verify. There. And now this should be the correct configuration, and it is. Now I can focus on welding these correctly before sending them down. This can all be welded together now, bringing it in from here to be efficient. And still linear, so we don't need anything more than this. This platform you always want to be one less than the total. In this case it's going to be 4 in the end, which in this case also needs to be rotated by 1 in order to be in the correct orientation, and then is sent to the processing area for that component. And now, marking where these land, we're going to route to the correct locations. This needs to be out 1, and it will be here. This needs to be here, and the rest will be above that. And this one will come in through here to here. And then finally, this one will be routed higher than the rest of them to its requisite location, which is here. But because of the timing, that needs to happen after all the rest of them have already happened. So there needs to be a 1 cycle delay. So now it's all assembled correctly, and it can be sent in this way. And on either side, it can be welded together. Like that. And now it's finished. This is all correct. And the score isn't terrible either. I'm looking at all of these, but they're also not perfect, which is irritating. The block score could be better. Actually, instead of having, well, because it could still have that there. One thing we can do is removing all of these, because they're technically redundant. Not including that, actually. Now this should be more efficient on block score. timing problem like I anticipated. So what about the timing is wrong this time? Oh, hold on. The way this is feeding in is wrong. So that fixes that half of the problem. Assuming there's another half that is. And there isn't, actually. Everything is fine. Block score, better now than before. Cycle score is worse. Footprint is the same. And this is fine for right now. We can come back for that later. The next one, before the performance review of this segment. Oh yes, I also remember this one. Going to try to optimize for cycle score this time. So we need to process 2 of those, send through 4 around that to be printed together, and then 2 of these stamped onto the back. That we can actually backload, or front load actually, to here. Not blocking the port. And so that's preloaded. These would then need to be timed correctly. And in total I measured 6. Actually, we only need these 2 here, and then the other 4 can be out here. Forgetting the the keybinds. There. So this is correct for timing. These are just going to pile up here until I decide what to do with them. Right there, so I can remember them. And these are going to be first welded together and then sent through. I think that's possible, but I'm not sure. It is possible. So the welding of those is now preloaded. And the welding of these can also be preloaded if I do it correctly. Partially preloaded. Like this. Yes, that is correct. And I can have all of these fit together like this. That's getting dangerously close to the end point, however. So instead of having them there, I can have them be there. Back by 1. And even have these go back like this to here. I can omit this since it will be attached after this. And so that's that problem solved. And at this point, I can actually weld these together here like this. Oh, not there. It needs to be here. And that is all correct as well now. And this is actually very close to the correct position for sending directly to where it needs to go, which would be there, which would then be here. Like this. And that can be welded on from the side here. and then sent forward to where these will go. I'll put that there for right now to make sure this step is working first. Now the timing is wrong. Hold on, it only needs 1 cycle delay. And this needs to keep going forward until it hits here. At which point, this needs to be welded on. And then sent through. Like this. With 1 cycle delay, of course, to make sure everything happens in the correct order. And this is all correct, except for that part. One thing I didn't account for is how these will be coming through faster than those will be. Oh, I know what I can do. I can do this in the opposite order, where this one initializes the finishing of the process, and the other one sits there and stacks indefinitely. And you know what I can also do in order to make sure nothing overflows is to just put blockers in all of the places where it would overflow. Except for here, because that would block that path in the wrong way. And so now that's correct. And since that's all synchronized because of the timing that I did there, it will have no problems, so I don't need to put blockers anywhere for artificial timing. And these all look fine, except for this block score, which I can easily resolve by removing these conveyor belts. The cycle score is especially satisfying. I'll perhaps come back to there for the block score later. Now where's my promotion? Ah, here it is. Very important to remain nourished. Now for the next step of the plan. And also a new area with new blocks. Very exciting. Oh, this one. I remember what this one is about. So, in this particular case, what I would like to do is, since we don't need any of these parts or these parts, we only need these 2 parts here for the breakdown process, we can destroy everything else. And so I can actually put these right here. The only problem then would be, yes, we need to stagger this. So that, these things on the top remain undestroyed. Getting closer. Getting very close now. Oh, hold on, let me just increase the throughput. There. And then now I can just send these straight to here with one minor modification. That being, hold on, I can bring something down from the ceiling to improve footprint. The one modification being this part here. Hold on, I have a better idea. efficiency. Hold on. The shape of this building is very, I would say, unusual, and also impractical, to be honest. Enough inspecting the architecture, however. What else can I do with this to make it better? Oh, I know. I can actually just get rid of all of these and only have the one at the end. We already did speed, and so now we can do blocks. And also, additionally, one thing we can do is forget all of this. We only need one of these in order to have it be completed. And so we can break off some of the rest of it. It's hard to describe, so I'll just show it in action. And then after that part, we can do this part back by 2, and then this we can put here. Except for how that clogs. Oh, I know how to solve that. A really bad solution that only takes one part. Oh, actually, I have an even better idea. Hold on. Actually, I'm pretty sure I can move that up by 1. And I can get rid of this needless convolution. There. Yeah, that helped the block score a lot. And the footprint score also was helped. And the cycle score wasn't destroyed too badly. And now for this one. Oh, of course. This is going to be slightly more complicated. But we do get the blocker, which is the opposite of the pusher, which in its normal state is extended, and in its activated state is retracted. And so to demonstrate this, I can just build this very simple model. Now about this. First, maximizing the input again, as is logical. The orientation of these should make it pretty simple. And there. That's the only part we need to print. And then in these locations we can have it be like this. And at the end location we can actually have it be... I only just now realized what I sound like. There. Now... Oh yes, another thing we're going to need to do is remove these redundant parts, or these useless, these parts that are getting in the way. And then after that we can finally do this part correctly. Oh, I had an idea, hold on. This will simplify a part that comes later. Don't worry, worry about it. And this is going to happen like this. And then there should be another part here that does the opposite. And it should be fine if I just extend this above everything else. In fact, I don't need to go all the way around like that even. Making it as simple as possible. Oh, but that gets in the way. How far back does that need to be? Only that far. That's almost correct. So, we don't actually want this to be connected directly to this. We want it to be connected to logic. Particularly a sort of timing logic. Case, it should be fine to just use one of these. There. In fact, at this point, I'm not sure it even needs to extend that high anymore. There. So much this. Oh, hold on. I forgot to account for the small delay that happens as a consequence of this. I can actually move these up by one in order to further simplify because of how this works. And there. For timing. I can see how this is getting in the way though. Unfortunate. These actually need to be moved ahead. And that means that this needs to be routed in a different way. And so this would go here now. This would go here. And the result would be something that looks like this. Actually, when it's moved back, there will be a lot of interference. So that can't actually be on that level. Oh, I don't need this here. Just now noticing. I think I see what I need to do now. So instead of going that way, and instead of being yes. And now at this point it can finally be routed effectively to however long this is for. Now the fourth one back from here. Here. differently. There. Hold on. That's incorrect. There. I can see a lot of interference happening. Actually, I think I need this to also be here, like this, in order for it to function correctly. And then at this point, I can send this into this area to be welded on correctly. And that would require, from above, this welding process here. That looks correct. Hoping that this does work in its current configuration. Just resolving this one problem first, however. There. That does get fitted on correctly now. And it would be better if this was here now. And this would then be done in a very similar way. Hold on. I see what the problem is here. I just need to move this. There. Now there's room. Was looking very mysterious for a second. There. So this should work for after I remove this, and there. Now that timing is wrong, but that can be fixed here by just extending this. Simple. Oh, that's a problem, however. I need to look at this slowly. Oh, that comes in too soon. Oh, because that happens too soon. In that case... Another thing that needs to happen now because of that is this part here. So only after it's been off for some time can it reinitialize now. The timing of that is also wrong now. I see what the problem is now. Perhaps if I just extend this further. That's not ideal. I feel like I should save this for later.